We work hard on consistency. Obviously, not every, they're humans.
At exactly 9:07 a.m., the call came in. It wasn't from a player, reporter, or a fan. It was from inside the WNBA's own data pipeline. Someone had just leaked the numbers, and they were worse than anyone at league headquarters expected. Cathy Engelbert, commissioner of the WNBA, had spent months engineering the perfect All-Star weekend, a showcase of growth, momentum, and mainstream attention.
Looking at technology, basketball is a little more complex than tennis, for instance, around technology of officiating. So we're looking at a variety of different dimensions.
But in less than 24 hours, that illusion collapsed. Ticket prices for the All-Star Game plunged 48%, dropping from $121 to $64. Viewership projections cratered. Sponsors went quiet. And behind closed doors, the WNBPA, armed with this accidental leak, saw the opportunity they'd been waiting for. This wasn't just a market correction. It was a financial red flag so bright, it could be seen from every luxury suite in the league. For the first time, the WNBA's greatest strength, Caitlin Clark, also revealed its biggest weakness, a league dangerously dependent on a single superstar. And with the next collective bargaining agreement on the line, the timing couldn't have been more explosive. So what happens when the data players were never supposed to see suddenly becomes public? And how does Cathy Engelbert confront a union ready to strike with stats instead of slogans? Let's break down the leak, the power play, and the high-stakes confrontation that could redefine the entire future of the WNBA. Indianapolis was supposed to be the center of the basketball universe. The 2025 WNBA All-Star Game had everything: national TV coverage, sold-out event packages, and the league's biggest star, Caitlin Clark, set to headline the entire weekend in her home city. Ticket resellers were buzzing.
I'll leave the specific question about the foul to my colleague, Commissioner Engelbert. Other than as a fan, obviously, there's...
Prices soared to a $262 average, making it the most expensive WNBA All-Star Game in history. VIP packages sold out. Corporate sponsors flooded in. ESPN had its primetime slot locked. On paper, it was a dream, but the script unraveled just days before tip-off. Clark, battling a lingering groin injury, announced she would miss both the three-point contest and the game itself. And within hours, reality hit the resale market like a punch to the gut. According to TickPick, the get-in price for All-Star tickets nosedived from $121 to just $64, a 48% drop overnight. The most anticipated game of the season had just been gutted by one injury. This wasn't an opinion. It wasn't media spin. It was hard data, cold math, and it spread fast.
Urban, the game is fast now. Things are happening quickly. Everybody's getting better, except the officials. So we gotta find a way to remedy it. You've heard every coach talk about it, so I don't know what the answer is.
Fans noticed it. Analysts screenshot it. But more importantly, the WNBPA noticed it, and they understood what it meant. Because that 48% drop wasn't just a number. It was leverage. The ticket collapse was just the beginning. Behind the scenes, the league's media partners were watching something even more alarming: a steep, unexpected dip in viewership. The 2025 WNBA All-Star Game drew 2.19 million viewers on ABC. Under normal circumstances, that would have been a victory. In fact, it was still the second most watched All-Star broadcast in league history. But there was one glaring problem. Just a year earlier, with a healthy Caitlin Clark on the court, the 2024 All-Star Game drew a record-breaking 3.44 million viewers, a 36% year-over-year drop. That number, combined with the ticket plunge, told a sobering truth. Without Clark, interest cratered. Broadcasters who had just signed onto the WNBA's massive $2.2 billion media rights deal started asking quiet questions.
Out there, she would be. Shortly before the show, Clark released this statement through the Fever's social media account, saying that she's so excited for Indiana to host WNBA All-Star this weekend, and that she says she knows that this is going to be the best All-Star yet. But she does go on to say how incredibly sad and, quote, disappointed she will not be to not be able to participate, adding, quote, "I have to rest my body. I'll still be at Gainbridge Fieldhouse for all of the action. I'm looking forward to helping Sandy coach our team.
Sponsors began second-guessing their ROI. The viral moment everyone remembered wasn't a buzzer beater or behind-the-back assist. It was a red graph showing revenue falling in real time. Meanwhile, the media focused on the surface-level drama. Angel Reese's Reebok billboard Blitz took over the city, promoting her new shoe and throwing subtle shade with the phrase, "Walk in your trap, take over your trap." And while fans debated whether it was a diss or just marketing, the league's financial vulnerability was unfolding in plain sight. The All-Star Weekend, once designed to project strength, was now broadcasting the opposite. And behind closed doors, WNBPA leadership was already gathering the numbers. They knew this wasn't just a temporary dip. It was an exposed weakness, and they were ready to exploit it. For years, the WNBA Players Association had argued that its athletes were underpaid, undervalued, and undersupported. But now, thanks to one leaked injury report and a chain reaction of data, they had proof. It wasn't just about feelings anymore. It was economics. When players walked onto the court for warm-ups, it wasn't just to stretch or shoot around. It was a calculated move. They wore black t-shirts with a blunt, four-word demand printed in white. Pay us what you owe us. The message wasn't subtle. It wasn't vague. And it definitely wasn't a coincidence. This was a coordinated protest, timed to perfection, right when the league looked most vulnerable. The WNBPA had receipts. Ticket prices collapsing by 48%.
Yeah, and the one thing as a very long-term sports fan I know is that officiating and refereeing is always at the top of a fan's list, of the media's list. Obviously, we work hard on training.
Viewership falling 36% without Clark. Merchandise and resale value tied directly to just a handful of stars. All of it pointed to the same conclusion. The WNBA's financial engine was running on a fragile foundation, built disproportionately around a few marketable players. And yet, according to publicly available data, WNBA players take home less than 10% of league revenue, while their NBA counterparts earn closer to 50%. To the union, this wasn't just bad business, it was exploitation. So when the protest shirts hit the floor, they weren't just drawing a line in the sand, they were filing an invoice. Not for what they hoped to earn, but for the value they'd already delivered. And with that, the WNBPA wasn't just asking for a bigger slice. They were demanding it. With numbers, with data, with momentum. And Cathy Engelbert knew she'd have to respond. From the outside, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert projected calm. She told reporters the league was growing steadily, and that conversations with the players' union were constructive. But behind the PR statements was a much more delicate reality. A ticking clock and a multi-billion-dollar media deal under threat. Starting next season, the WNBA will enter a landmark $2.2 billion media rights agreement with Disney, Amazon, and NBC Universal. It's an 11-year contract, worth nearly $200 million per year, and it was supposed to mark the league's leap into mainstream profitability.
I thought you got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing.
But now, that same deal is at risk of becoming a bargaining chip in a labor standoff. The WNBPA knows exactly what's at stake. And they're not bluffing. Their demands aren't just about dollars. They're about structure. Higher salaries, starting with raising the league's minimum from around $66,000 to something that reflects a growing media footprint. Charter flights instead of the commercial travel that's led to delayed games and player fatigue. Expanded rosters to ease injury burden and open opportunities for more athletes. Better maternity support and postseason care. Before All-Star Weekend, Engelbert's position had been clear. Growth takes time. We have to be fiscally responsible. But after the ticket and viewership collapse, the players didn't want patience. They wanted payback with interest. And now, the WNBPA can walk into CBA negotiations with something the league never expected. Public proof that the WNBA's current model is built on a fragile dependency. and that without fairly compensated superstars, the entire house of cards can fall. Engelbert isn't just managing expectations anymore. She's balancing on a billion-dollar tightrope. Just as the players' union seemed to hold all the momentum, a subtle shift caught everyone's attention, and it came from inside the All-Star locker room. During a post-game interview, Las Vegas Aces guard Kelsey Plum, a member of Team Clark, was asked about the protest shirts. Her response was short but loaded. Not to tattletale, 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that. It was the kind of comment that didn't need repeating. It said enough. Suddenly, the story wasn't just about players versus the league. It was about whether all players were even on the same side. Caitlin Clark, whose injury sparked this entire movement, was noticeably absent from the on-court protest. No shirt, no public endorsement, no statement. Now, to be clear, Clark has never spoken out against the WNBPA or the protest, and some fans defended her absence, citing injury protocols or sponsor restrictions. But online, speculation exploded. Was this strategic neutrality? Was her camp distancing itself from the union's aggressive tactics? Or was this the beginning of a fracture the league could exploit? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. If the player most responsible for driving ratings, revenue, and resale doesn't align fully with the union, it weakens their hand. It gives league executives something they've desperately been looking for: division. And that's where Cathy Engelbert might have her first real opening. If she can quietly win over the most powerful player in the league, not through opposition, but through silence, it could shift the dynamic of the entire negotiation. One voice missing can be louder than 100 speaking. And in this case, Caitlin Clark's silence may have said everything. On paper, the WNBA is booming. Under Cathy Engelbert's leadership, the league has announced plans to expand from 12 to 18 teams by 2030, with new franchises in San Francisco, Toronto, and possibly Denver already in development. Merchandise sales are up. Social media metrics are breaking records. And thanks to Caitlin Clark's arrival, viewership has reached levels the league has never seen before. But beneath that promising exterior lies a financial structure that's still dangerously top-heavy. The All-Star Weekend proved it. One superstar sits out, and the product's perceived value immediately collapses, not by 5 or 10%, but by nearly half. And that's a problem the league can't PR away. Because here's what that tells the union, the sponsors, and the media partners. The WNBA isn't growing evenly. It's growing through a funnel. A few marketable names, Clark, Reese, Stewart, Ionescu, are doing the heavy lifting. The moment one of them disappears, the cracks show. That's not a league with healthy depth. That's a league surviving on star dependency. Meanwhile, players still earn a league minimum of around $66,000, often traveling coach, while team owners bank millions from expansion fees and media rights projections. This imbalance makes the business look unsustainable at scale, and Engelbert knows it. The league can't afford to dilute talent through expansion without first fixing the financial foundation that holds it together. And now, the players know it too. That's what makes this moment so dangerous for the league, and so powerful for the union. Because it's not just about what the numbers said, it's about what they revealed. The 2025 WNBA All-Star Weekend was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it became a case study in vulnerability. One injury, one absence, one leak. And suddenly, everything, from ticket sales to TV ratings to labor negotiations, was thrown into chaos. Cathy Engelbert now finds herself at a historic crossroads. On one side, she has a $2.2 billion media rights deal and aggressive expansion plans to protect. On the other, a union more unified and more data-backed than ever before, demanding structural change, not promises. The WNBPA has moved past asking politely. They've shown that the league's growth story isn't about broad momentum. It's about concentrated, superstar-driven value. And now they want that value reflected in salaries, benefits, and treatment. The protest shirts said it clearly. Pay us what you owe us. And now, they're holding up receipts. But just when it looked like the players held all the cards, a new complication emerged. Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest attraction, remained silent. Her absence from the protest may have been innocent, or it may have signaled a subtle strategic split that the league can exploit. And that's the real twist in this story. This isn't just a labor dispute. It's a multi-layered power struggle between players, league executives, sponsors, and fans, each with something to gain or lose, depending on how the next few months unfold. With the CBA expiring October 31st, the WNBA is officially on the clock. The confrontation is here, and the stakes have never been higher. So, what do you think? Who really holds the power in this negotiation? Is it Cathy Engelbert and the league's billion-dollar backing? Or the WNBPA, armed with data, public support, and players ready to take a stand? Drop your prediction in the comments below. Smash that like button if you believe the numbers never lie. And be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because we'll be tracking every move in the CBA battle as it unfolds. The next few months will decide the future of the WNBA. This wasn't just a leak, this was the spark.